In the Holy Quran, chapter 6, verse 96, it reads, "And he rendered the sun and the moon to serve as calculation devices."
You know, to me, that's a profound statement, and, to say the sun and moon are calculation devices, what if the calculation goes beyond just timekeeping? And that's the premise. What if it goes beyond timekeeping? I want to share a verse with you. Well, not a verse, but a highlight that I have from a book that I'm reading, the book on Sufi healing. And he goes on to say, there is one immediate condition of the soul called Afghan in Sufi parlance, which refers to the overwhelming joy and love one feels when confronted with or granted a glimpse of the very presence and reality of God himself. One is compelled to shed sweet tears. And a couple days ago or last week, I had did a webinar in the Patreon explaining some of the stuff I'm gonna show you today, what I call the Kavod Elohim, which simply means the glory of God. And I had to stop myself from crying. And this is like on a live call. I was purposely stopping myself from crying because for me, to have that situation when you're confronted with God or you are granted a glimpse into the very presence of God, only thing it could do is bring you to sweet tears. If you truly believe, one, in God, and two, that what you are seeing and experiencing is like divine revelation, right? And so that was big, for me. And then, the way God works and you have it, you get a book and you start reading it and it's like, I just said this, And so that's very profound. And again, the premise, of the work as well is to show you the magnificent glory of the Creator, okay? And so with that said, to kind of rewind the hands of time, there's a verse in Exodus 14, 19 through 21 that reads, "Then the angel of God who was going before the host of Israel moved and went behind them, and the pillar of cloud moved from before them and stood behind them, coming between the host of Egypt and the host of Israel. And there was the cloud and darkness, and it lit up the night." And there's a special emphasis on that. And there was the cloud and the darkness, and it lit up the night. And it's like this cloud lighting up the night sky. And now when I see this, I'm like, well, that's true. I know where that is in space, right? Kind of got to be like an astronomy geek in a sense. And so I raised the question, is this the cloud that lit up the night? Okay, we're talking about the galactic center known as the Milky Way rift. And I showed before how in the Inca, this Milky Way rift is here, is present. And you also definitely see it in Egypt under the goddess Nut. Now to me, this is a very dope illustration right here, right? And so when you get into the science of the galactic center, it tells you that it's a compact radio source. Okay, it's a compact radio source. The galactic center of for us, in our reality, this is a radio source at the core. So then the question became, well, are you implying God is a radio? And I have to ask the question that, hey, listen, why are scientists so bent on building radio telescopes and studying radio transmissions from space? That's a question, right? And so now, what if some form of communication is coming from these radio waves? Because that's all radio waves is anyway, a wave in which we can hear the word, right? So when you go to the Hebrew and you look up the word radio, as you see in green, radio and wireless, the first two letters mean God. Look on the right-hand side. It's God. It's the same two letters. Just a different diacritical mark at the bottom of it, but at the core, it's the same two letters that make up God. So God is a radio. From the Hebrew standpoint, God is a radio. And I even say from the Arabic standpoint, because Allah starts off with the same two letters. Okay? And so we're talking about, and if you notice, it's always the voice of God, the voice of God, the voice of God, the voice of God, right? Very rarely is it he sat down with a human being. It's the voice, right? So that should tell you something. It's about radio transmissions, okay? Sound frequency. So back on July 4th, as I noted, that I told people in my Patreon, mark your calendars, because on 7/18 at 11:11 p.m., we going in. The moon is going to be at the Galactic Center, and there's something special that we need to do, because I just showed you the Galactic Center is a radio source. And so I'm on the record, July 4th, but I'm telling you on 7/18, we're going to get busy at 11:11 p.m. But when 7/18 got here at 10:30, let's just say 30 or so minutes, 40 or so minutes before everybody were to get together, I go outside and I surrender, submit, and I make my prayers and whatnot. But when I come outside, and I'm greeted by a clear sky beside a pillar of cloud. Look at this cloud. That's very interesting, right under the moon. God knows. So it's like a pillar of cloud, or the other scripture said a pillar of smoke. And that's exactly what it looks like. I'm telling you, on this day, the moon is at the Galactic Center. I can show you better, I can tell you, because here is the astronomical program on July 18th to tell you exactly where the moon is. In the middle of this galactic Milky Way rift, lined up with the Galactic Center, aka ET phone home, okay? So then, on that same day, the same day that we're doing a call to God, we're gonna call God. Show you how to get on the phone and call God. Another immediate mass black hole discovered at the center of our galaxy. This is the same day, but I showed you a slide that says, hey, on July 4th, I put it in the Patreon that we are going to use the moon, basically, as a calculation device to call God, because that's what the scripture says. You understand that? And so the day that we are going to do this at night, science then already broke. Like, hey, listen, there are more black holes discovered in this region of space. But watch this, it gets better. So on July 29th, I posted in the Patreon, we're going to do something called a Jupiter red eye activation. We're going to do it on August the 27th, okay? So I'm on the record for July 29th already, okay? Now, if you look at where the moon is in between the green columns, this is the other side of the Milky Way rift. The Milky Way rift runs roughly between Scorpio, Sagittarius, and on the other side, that would mean Taurus and Gemini on the other side, okay? So there's a little band of light right there, but it's not as bright as it is on the other side, the Scorpio, Sagittarius side, okay? And so you can see a band of light. You see the moon is within this column of smoke, this band of light, and Jupiter is here, and we're focusing upon something and we're doing something here, sending that radio signal of thought frequency, okay? So look what broke the next day, the very next day, astronomers discover new odd radio circle near the center of our galaxy. This is August the 28th. You saw that, hey, on July 29th, I'm telling we're going to do it on August 27th. Okay? So less than 24 hours later, boom, all of a sudden science is discovering an odd radio circle. That's what it says. Do you know what else it says? It says the ring itself is only seen at radio wavelengths. That's what it says. And then another part of the story says the galactic center is what? 26,000 light years away, which if you go to a previous video, God is a radio, I showed you that the galactic center is 26,000 light years away in my original presentation. And so this is what I call the Kavod Elohim, where we collectively come together and focus our attention and we make a beautiful call. To me, this is the real Adhan, the Adhan, the call of prayer. We make a collective call because the Quran shows us that, hey, the heavens and earth, we set this up for you with an intention, with a purpose.
In the Holy Quran, chapter 44, verses 38 and 39, it reads, "We created not the heavens, the earth, and all between them, just to play. We created them for a specific purpose, but most of them do not know."
You understand that? And so that's how I love to use the heavens in this heavenly science. Check out Noble Anpu courses. Don't get into that per se, but you can join us in the Patreon, man. Join us in the Patreon. It's only $15 a month and massive information from spirituality, even on over to real estate. All right. So with that said, man, I greet y'all in peace and have faith. Keep the faith. And again, the purpose is to move beyond faith and to have science in your experience. That's the most important part, your experience. The goal is to give us a divine, I ain't gonna say confrontation, but a divine meeting, a divine confrontation, a divine presence of God. So we can move from should I believe to I firmly believe and know. There's no question about it. And I just think that's really paramount. And the reason why I think that's paramount is because we live in a society where there's so much information, certain information to start contradicting this information, certain information people will present on purpose to contradict this information of your foundation and your faith, and it'll strip it away from you, and then you may not know what to believe, right? And so believe in the power of the unseen God that manifests himself inside of everything within creation, and that's all I can really say, all right? In you, but also outside of you. And this is why for me, as above, so below, right? As within, so without, okay? That's the meaning of this beautiful unity for me, all right? All right, peace out.